Hello, Aquarius. Thank you so much, as always, you guys, for being here. And a very safe and happy holidays to all of you. All right, Aquarius. So looking at your third week of December, you have to be fair, trickery, and give back. This is all about needing to redirect your attention away from a situation that you see as unfair, because there is manipulation that is going on. Trickery is really about, the things that we do that is intended to get a certain response. So you may feel like, because you're looking at it as unfair and the situation needs to be balanced out, you're looking at it as, somebody manipulating the truth of a situation or being manipulative in order to get a certain response out of you. And I feel like the healing advice here is to redirect your attention to people who need you, to places where you can be of the most assistance, right? It very much reminds me of service from Chakra wisdom, where the redirection of attention is going to, take your thoughts away from needing somebody to own up to what they have done that you're looking at as unfair. Now, that's not going to be for all of you, but this really is about things being balanced out. You have justice with manipulation, and then there's the needing to give back to others, redirecting your attention. So to be fair, there's the balance, the justice, the need to consider options, mutual benefit, and the law of cause and effect. But the protection message talks about how injustice and inequality are a part of life, but they do not have to define your experience. This is a time when you may observe an injustice righted or fairly readdressed. So, that's really a good sign when you're looking at that with trickery. Now, if you have been the one that has been, kind of becoming aware of how your emotions may have been causing you to manipulate certain situations, and that's going to be balanced out. But because there's this need to redirect your energy, I feel like this is what's happening to you. So the inspiration for this says, during trying times, things may be easier if you ask for help. Now, that's interesting because you're being told here to provide help or assistance to others rather than to a person or a situation that is looking to, manipulate, right? Because it's not fair. But, it also says, am I afraid to tell the truth? How does that fear make me manipulate others? What do I really need to say? So now, on the other hand, right, you may have been very careful about the things that you have been saying in order to, get a certain response from somebody who is clearly doing things that are unfair or are unjust. And again, that's because you're looking at it that way with to be fair. It's basically the justice card, right? But the healing advice with give back, it says you need an interruption from what is going on in your life. A wonderful way to divert your mind is to give back. Giving back doesn't have to be difficult. Think of simple ways you would like to help or contribute to your community. And it talks about simple things like volunteering, donating food or clothing, right? Focusing your attention on people who are experiencing lack. And this would be the time to do it, right? During what, we look at as the holiday season. But there is a manipulation of a situation that is going on. You may be seeing this situation, coming to a fair and balanced resolution. But regardless, again, with your healing advice, there's too much attention on it right now. And to give is to receive, right? But I understand the feeling. Like I'm getting this feeling of you being very aware of how you are approaching a certain person or situation. But you may be realizing that it's not really allowing space for you to be honest about how you're experiencing this. Okay, so you're overall the Eight of Swords, being stuck, feeling like you're stuck in a situation and not seeing a way forward, right? So, you know, there is a way through, but because we're talking about swords, it's really pointing to, you know, the thoughts that you've put in place. There may be, you know, some things that you just can't look past. But if you did, you know, how would things look moving forward? In the past, the moon, so confusion, illusion, fears, anxieties, right? This is, for me, where the shadow really starts to show up. But, you know, as far as that goes, and looking at your oracle cards, we're talking about conditioning, right? And again, there's that feeling of not really having the room to, you know, be able to be open and honest or truthful about a situation. It's like you're not intentionally trying to manipulate, but it's almost like you have to be very careful about how you approach somebody. But whatever has been going on, there may have been like a lot of misunderstanding or confusion as to why something is happening or why somebody is acting the way that they are. Or, you know, there, like I said, are things about yourself that, you know, are coming forward, that are coming out of the shadow, right? So in the present moment, strength, you know, and again, there's this feeling of like holding back, but also finding the inner strength to continue to be in this situation, even though there's a feeling of, you know, being stuck with it. The other thing here, though, too, is there may be a realization that you've been trying to force a certain outcome, if that makes sense. But I feel like there's like this realization of that kind of coming through, and then there's you know, finding the strength to reserve the way that you respond. But I also kind of get this feeling of like, you know, can I really continue to do this? So future conditions, right? As long as you continue to have that perspective of not seeing a way forward, then things are going to move very slowly, right? So with the Knight of Pentacles here, there's still that path, that plan, or that destination. It's just there has to be a lot of detailed planning in order to get to that success that you're wanting to see. But we could also be talking about either you or somebody else being very stubborn, you know, and it's hard to get them to move in the right direction. Or you might be finding it hard for you to be able to, you know, continue to move forward from this. Like, I almost feel like here, like you can see the success in this, but how can we pick up the pace here if, you know, you're not seeing a way forward? And it may be that there is a need for you to, you know, again, redirect your energy and the path that you're following, you know, because if there is no progress, then progress can be made in a different direction for you. For some of you, there's, you know, this confusion as to why a situation is stuck. And you may be struggling to, you know, find the strength to continue, even though this is dragging ass, so to speak. your best path to follow, the Hangman. So, you know, what I feel like here is that maybe things need to kind of be put on hold for a minute. Because going back to the Oracle cards again, there's too much attention that's being placed on this. And the attention that's there right now is showing up as there isn't a way forward. So a new perspective absolutely has to be gained, but there needs to be that sacrifice of, okay, I need to stop forcing the issue. So, you know, it is being in that state of limbo, things not moving forward, things being put on hold, right? But it can't continue to move in the right direction if all you are seeing is how things aren't going to go in the way that you had hoped. In your environment, the world with strength, right? Wanting to get closure on this, wanting this cycle to be done with, but in a successful way. And not having to repeat this anymore. I almost feel like whatever you're dealing with, there's a lot of confusion as to why it even happened in the first place. And it's because of that I feel like for you, it's also kind of like blocking any kind of clarity. You know, confusion as to why things are stuck, but wanting closure on this. And needing to find the strength to get there. But it's going to be a slow path. And the way things are going now, I feel like it needs to be kind of put on hold here. Your hopes and your fears, the High Priestess, so hoping to gain, you know, the clarity and this understanding of this situation. Hoping that, you know, there are some things that you may not be aware of, but trusting that, you know, your intuition will guide you in the right direction. This is becoming aware of information that you may not have been privy to, especially with the moon coming in. So, you know, this is hoping for that intuitive guidance that'll clear things up. And hoping that, you know, you can trust what your intuition is telling you about the situation. It's interesting. Now, the fear there would be that, you know, what you are believing to be true is actually there. It's almost like needing to accept when your intuition is telling you that maybe this is a situation that you need to back off from, despite the fact that there is this want to have closure. Maybe the way to get closure is to just stop. You know, and again, I say that because with the Eight of Swords, you're not going anywhere. Nothing's moving forward. But I look at this and think, you know, you may be hoping to gain that piece of information that you may not have been aware of. And if that does come in, then there's the hope that, you know, your intuition will guide you in the right direction. Coming out the Nine of Wands, so, you know, right, like you've been through a lot with this situation, and the wall is up now. And I almost feel like, you know, besides feeling very defensive, there may be this like, no, I'm not going to continue this anymore unless things are going in a more productive direction. But it's slow going, right? But that Nine of Wands, though, may be, you know, preventing you from seeing something. And again, it's this perspective about what you're dealing with that's affecting you. But there's very much this opportunity here to finish this out in a way where you're okay with it, if that makes sense, right? Like, because we're talking about successful closure here and not repeating this pattern anymore. Oh boy. All right. The Devil. the Seven of Cups, and that makes sense. And then the Four of Cups. You may get to this feels like a breaking point where you're worn out by the situation, so much so that you may get pushed to this point where you're not interested in seeing this through anymore. You know, but I'm looking at this wondering if your intuition isn't already telling you this. You know, because we're looking at the end of this and getting closure. But the Moon and the Devil, right? So there is this confusion as to why you're having to deal with this toxic situation, or this confusion as to why you are attached to it. You know, it may feel like it's almost become an obsession. And those may be, you know, the things that are being kind of revealed to you here within your own shadow, that may be redirecting your energy here, where you're finding the strength to do what's necessary to get the closure so that things start moving in a better direction. But, you know, more specifically for you. But you are getting worn out, I think, by this situation. And it's kind of like, you know what? This is what I have to do now. You know, but then there's always the question with the Nine of Wands is like, what are you blocking out? Now, with the Seven of Cups here and needing to find, you know, the inner strength, we're talking about things not happening, things not going the way that you may have envisioned. You know, it's like, well, what other options are there? And it may be hard for you right now to see what the best choice is to, you know, complete this situation. But I really feel like here with your advice and looking at the High Priestess as, you know, your hopes and fears, it's really about just not being engaged in this anymore, if that makes sense. Because if every option you're looking at doesn't look like there's, you know, a realistic resolution to it, then it's like, what are you continuing this for? And with the Four of Cups, right, again, we're wore out from it. I'm done placing my attention into something that is doing nothing but creating blocks and confusion. And you may be all out rejecting a new, like, start with this because, you know, again, right, we're done with this. But your perspective may have to change in a way where you're going to have to find the strength here to just say enough is enough. But, you know, looking at the High Priestess, though, I feel like for some of you, your intuition has already been telling you this. Speak your truth. Psychic knowing. And then wisdom. So, speaking truth from your psychic knowing and understanding, because there is wisdom that is being gained from this. But I feel like there is right now a restriction for you in the way that you are approaching a situation or a person. But the Devil there is showing this kind of like obsession with it. But, you know, if you're trusting your psychic knowing, then wisdom is prevailing in that. But you need to be able to just speak your own truth in this. In how it's affected you and how you're seeing and perceiving things. Because, you know, if you're not able to do that, then how are you going to get the closure that you're needing, right? But speaking from a place of knowing and intuition. But that knowing is coming again from wisdom gained Gates of triumph, success expands in your life. And then breaking trail, a breakthrough is at hand. That's good to see. So not only is there going to be success for you, but it's like it's finally breaking through and the situation is starting to like open up. But that may happen only when you finally, stop obsessing over how you thought things were going to work out. But this situation, right, like this is not something that you want to return back to. And if you are finding yourself placing too much attention on a situation where you don't see how things are going to move forward, then yeah, it's time to redirect, right? But the way that you're perceiving this, I think, is what is important here. That's what needs to change. And it almost feels a little bit harsh in the way that it comes out. But again, it's about, what's necessary for you to, be able to move forward and move on from this.